Next, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Idaho, Mr. Fulcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moore, thank you for being here. It's good to see you again. Thank you for your testimony. And I know you touched on this, but for the sake of our dialogue, how is it going with the hiring first of all, for seasonal firefighters? How is that challenge going right now?
You know, interesting question, because on the one hand, I would say it's going very well. As a matter of fact, last year, we hired about 3,400 new employees into the Forest Service. The problem with that, though, is that we lost 2,600 people through attrition. And so we're trying to...
Now, is that total number or just...
Total number.
Okay, all right.
Total numbers. And remember, before I've said that of the 8,000 that we lost, we want to replace 4,000 of them, and then we wanted to leverage the other positions through partnerships. And so we had moved out to hire about 3,400 last year, which we did. So we do have 3,400 new employees into the agency, but we lost 2,600 during that same amount of time. So when you look at increasing capacity, we've only netted about 800 new positions into the agency.
So how many openings, and since you're looking at the overall number, how many openings have you got right now? If you, in a perfect world, if you could fill them.
Our plan is to hire 2,500 this year. And we'll be looking at probably even doing more of that, because we know that if we look at our annual attrition rate, it's about 1,800 per year. And so we know that we have to exceed the potential attrition rate if we're going to really look at increasing capacity. But we're moving to increase capacity. We're making a lot of good progress. Now we need to look at what is preventing the retention concern that we have across the board. Part of it, in a large part of it, had to do with our firefighters that were leaving because of the issues that we had around pay, around housing, around physical and mental care. So we are addressing that on a temporary basis, and we're seeing the results change to date just based on this temporary fix. Now, we will see that continue to go down, the attrition to continue to go down if this is made permanent.
So you did mention partnerships, and with the scenario with labor and the open positions, it looks like that would be an important component. With that, just shift gears a little bit. Talk about one of those partnerships that is prevalent in my state, Good Neighbor Authority. What's your view of that, and how is that going from your vantage point?
So so the Good Neighbor Authority has been just a wonderful tool for us. In fact, when you look at how we're working with states, counties, tribes, it has really magnified what we're able to do. And it's really brought in a different type of collaboration that we are having with our partners. The other thing that we're doing in terms of partnership, not necessarily through GNA, Good Neighbor Authority, but we're doing one pilot we have now is moving timber out of Northern California into Wyoming and South Dakota to really help support the wood industry infrastructure. So we're doing some of those types of things, trying to maintain the existing infrastructure we have to keep any more mills from closing or shutting down. And so now what we want to do is introduce the new technology or the new innovations into this process. And so we work with the industry and others to kind of help us decide how we might want to do that.
So and that makes sense. And as you are probably aware, we are attempting to expand that Good Neighbor Authority so that tribes and counties can participate in the revenue sharing component, and that's not the case. And so is it fair to say that you support that?
Yes. In fact, when I look at the difference between us and the states and the GNA, and when we look at tribes and counties, there's a big difference because of how you can or cannot spend the revenue. I think if there was a change in the new farm bill that would allow that same, the way to operate with counties and tribes, you'll see a much bigger use of GNA across the country. And I really will say that GNA has really brought the community of people together, looking at trying to address the issues we have on our landscapes.
Thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I want to just point out that this GNA program has been good, and we've got such a backlog of work that needs to be done. Obviously, there's shortages with staffing, and just for the record, in 2022, there were 10 timber sale contracts that were awarded. that were worth approximately $3.4 million, and that also equated to 18.5 million board feet of timber that were processed through that program. And it's just one of the tools that I hope that we can expand and include tribes and counties in. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman's